If you're unfamiliar with what a REIA is, this episode may just be for you. Welcome back to the VIP Financial Ed channel. We help you go further, faster financially, and we do it through the 3 C's of banking and borrowing. That's credit, capital, and cash flow. We've got a really special episode here today with my good friend Troy Miller. Troy and I have been connected now for, feels like a long time. It's got to be about a decade, right?
Yeah.
Troy is one of the most well-known participants, leaders in the REIA space. Lives locally here in Colorado. Troy is the executive director for Investment Community of the Rockies, which is a REIA, a Real Estate Investors Association. And I want to give Troy a chance to kind of explain his background and why he's the man to help you guys understand if you should be participating in a REIA local to you, or even maybe starting your own. Troy, why don't you give the listener a little bit of your background, kind of explain why you know so much about these clubs.
Thanks, Matt. It's interesting. My father was actually a general contractor, and my mother is a property manager. So indirectly, I've sort of been in the real estate space all of my life. I started off in the not-for-profit sector and then migrated into the association world and started off with the Apartment Association of Greater Cincinnati. From there, started working with the National Real Estate Investors Association, worked with the Kentucky CCIM chapter and the Kentucky Real Estate Exchangers and several real estate investors associations around the country. And so I've sort of seen across the board just exactly what a trade association can do for either an individual or an industry in terms of promoting, protecting, and serving that particular industry.
I love that. And so how do you divide your time now? Tell me a little bit about what you're doing with your day. You're obviously helping to run ICOR, right?
Yes, and ICOR is basically the state association or the State Real Estate Investors Association for Colorado, a chapter of the National Association. And so with my time, I'm essentially spending in most of it in terms of development, both in terms of content and business development for the association and the industry here in the state of Colorado, leveraging both local and national product and service providers and educators to sort of bring that resource and value back to the membership.
Lots of different reasons why a REIA chapter might be something worth considering, right? Tell the viewer, what is the type of benefit that could be expected then if you're kind of a regular attendee at some of these meetings? What happens at these meetings?
If we're focusing on that beginner investor, I think the biggest thing is not necessarily recreating the wheel. You're going to go out there and you're going to get started, but chances are when you come to a Real Estate Investors Association, you're going to find people that have essentially done or been where you are right now in this very particular moment, and they're going to share with you generally things that are tried and true and also give you relevant information to help you make a better educated decision in your investments and then moving forward. So
is there still value for those that are seasoned in real estate, people that have already made all their own mistakes or have learned from other people? Why would experience levels of any kind want to be attending their local meetings?
Well, I think for one, I think advocacy and governmental affairs is the first thing that comes to mind, is protecting and serving your right as a entrepreneur, real estate entrepreneur, to operate your business in a way that you feel is both ethical and profitable for you. In addition to that, I think that the other resource is to potentially come with other partners. Oftentimes we're out there as lone cowboys in the real estate investing arena, and so sometimes it's okay to come back to what I call base camp, where I can meet with other real estate investors and check in to see what I'm doing as either timely or relevant, and also potentially finding lenders or other real estate investors to partner with.
And that's a big one. I mean, because people will literally be writing deals in the back of the room in some cases, right? And you run a group that has several meetings up and down the Front Range each month. So what would somebody that's not attended these meetings in the past want to expect as far as a time commitment? How much does it cost? Tell us a little bit about what it takes to get involved.
Well, it's just like anything that you want to start with or move down the road with. What you put into it is also the time that we get out of it as well.
Do you suppose that the participation in the event also matters? My experience at some of these groups is you've got the people that are in there and they're just really plugged in. They know everybody, they're shaking hands, They're mingling and networking, and they seem to be the ones that are really hustling and doing the deals. Then you kind of have these introverts that sit back, they want to observe, they're kind of the silent observers, and it's not that they leave with nothing, because there's this educational component to most of the meetings that we're obviously involved with. Is there a big difference? Can you go and not really have to worry about shaking hands with 100 people to get a lot of great value from these meetings? Because networking's tough for a lot of people.
Well, I say that I always ask the question at REIA meetings is, what is the number one resource in real estate investing? People often say money or the real estate itself. And I think the number one resource is people. Without people, you won't get the deal done.
Ever.
And so at some point, and you don't have to necessarily be the most gregarious person in the world and go out there and kiss babies and shake hands, but you have to find somebody that's willing to partner with you to do that. And maybe you are the numbers person, and maybe you're the deal finder. And so maybe you're going to go out and find that person to go out and be the face of your business that can then help leverage that. And that's where I think coming into a REIA is beneficial to you. Because, as I said, oftentimes we're thought of as cowboys out there, and so sometimes the cowboys have to ride together to help get the job done.
Whatever your strengths are, it's probably good to kind of identify those up front, right? What
Absolutely.
are you bringing to the table in real estate? I've learned that early, because I feel like from time to time we'll encounter people who just really don't have a lot going on, right? They don't have the credit, they don't have any money, there's really no skill in construction and putting in the blood, sweat, and tears. And ultimately, you ultimately have somebody that's looking for a handout almost, and they're also unwilling to shake hands. I feel like you've got to walk into that room knowing what is it that you contribute. Is that something that you have seen over the last decade and a half?
I think that generally you have one or two of three resources. You either have time, energy, or resources. And depending upon where you are in the overall life cycle of an investor, you have, in the beginners, they generally have the energy and they have the time, but they may not have the resources. And maybe you are switching up to, you've been doing real estate investing for a while and you just don't necessarily have the time. You've got some energy and you've got some resources, but maybe you need somebody that's got the time. And your experienced investor has got the resources and the time, but not the energy. And so sort of identifying one of those three things will really help you fill in the gap of what you might be missing in terms of real estate.
So you just look for a partner to complement what you're missing. What would be the normal price point if somebody was looking at getting involved in a REIA chapter? What can they expect? What do you see the ranges fluctuating between?
Sort of across the nation, I would say that it's anywhere from $99 to somewhere $250 to $300. And
for an annual subscription?
For an annual subscription to a local real estate investors association.
And from time to time, most chapters appear to be willing to let you in for one or two meetings. Maybe the first one's free and everyone after that might be $20 or $30.
Generally, yes.
So it's not that you have to subscribe for a whole year. You can kind of go in and dip your toe in the water, make sure it's something that's going to work out, right?
Absolutely. I highly encourage that. Generally, if you go to your maybe meetup or somewhere on social media and you're looking for your local real estate investors association, you'll find many in your town. And I say go and check them all out. Do your due diligence. Because generally you're going to find one that you really connect with on sort of on an emotional or relationship level. And if it makes sense, just go with it. But absolutely, by all means, do your due diligence.
So let's before we wrap up, talk a little bit about locating the best REIAs. The National REIA website will also share chapters and affiliates that they work with.
Absolutely.
So there may be some close to you. That link will be in the description below. I like meetup.com as well. I think it's a great place to kind of double check some of the chapters you might find by just doing a Google search. See how many people have joined that meetup group and are members of that. I find those that are larger tend to have a little more experience in the room. I encourage investors that are just getting started to surround themselves with experienced investors. I also believe that experienced investors prefer to be around experienced investors.
Yes.
So go where the talent is. Try to be the dumbest person in the room to get the most out of it. And so I think Meetup is a really good place to do a little bit of that double checking. Do you have any words of advice for anybody that's considering starting their own REIA?
The one question that we always ask whenever we're doing anything new with ICOR here on the local level is what is best for the investor. I think that the minute you have the intention of serving your membership, everything will come back to you tenfold. And I think that the minute people feel your authenticity, they will continue to migrate to you.
If you go in with the intention of collaboration and serving other people, it tends to come back much bigger.
Absolutely. In this day and age, absolutely.
Troy, we'll put some general email contact information for you. And
Absolutely.
if it's appropriate, we'll have people that are in the local Colorado area reach out so they can come and check out ICOR.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Hey, thank you so much for checking out this video. If you haven't done so already, I encourage you to consider subscribing to the channel. Make sure you turn on the notifications by clicking the bell next to the subscribe button. That'll let you know anytime we release new content, which happens every week. And make sure you like and share the content. If you're using a local REIA in your area, we'd love to hear about it below. So thank you so much for stopping by, Troy. I really appreciate all the information. Thanks.
All right, thanks.
All right, guys. We'll see you on the next video. Take care.